Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today is my 9.2.7 Protection Warrior Guide. I have been playing this class almost non-stop since Season 4 release, and oh my god, has it ever been so much fun, such high APM, the bounty works so well with Prot Warrior, and I have been receiving a ton of questions much earlier in the season about Protection Warrior, and from people deciding to swap over to it. I think we're actually going to see an uptick in Protection Warriors in this Season 4, because they are really, really fun. They're very, very strong. Yes, I know Blood DK is still going to be meta, but I think Prot Warrior is definitely going to get out of the trash bin meta community this season and actually be seen as a very, very good tank. So with this, I want to cover stats, I want to cover Season 4 affixes, talents, all of that fun stuff, and kind of get all of the questions out of the way. Now, before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe. We are so close to 3K subs. It is actually crazy, and wow, thank you so much, everybody, for the community, for all the support and everything. I'm flabbergasted constantly. There are links down below for Patreon if you wish to support me directly. If you have any other questions about Protection Warrior or any other tank, there is a fantastic community in the Discord down below that are rip-roaring ready to help. It's everyone in that community. If you're watching this, thank you so much for everything. You're absolutely wonderful. There's a Twitch link down below if you wish to watch me stream, and if you do have any VOD reviews that you would like to have some coaching with, there's a key review link down below. So, let's get into it. Number one is Legendaries. The Legendaries for Prot Warriors are pretty much remaining the same from last season, which is Reprisal and Unity. The Reprisal Legendary, you are going to be putting it on your boots. I know what you may say. You may have played Prot Warrior before and you don't enjoy the Reprisal gameplay. It hasn't changed. Sorry about that, but if you enjoy it, you're in luck. It's still BIS. I have opted to put Unity on my bracers because it is a lower stat value piece, because Legendaries are staying at 291. I did have it on my belt, but I got a belt pretty quickly in the Heroic Raid, so I decided to swap it over to my bracers and kind of keep it there, just because you're not going to get as many stat values out of the Legendaries this season because they are staying at a lower item level, and then you're going to quickly outgear the Legendaries with 300s and stuff from 15 from your vault. So that is what I opted to, but if you want to keep it on belt and boots, you can absolutely do that. That is completely your choice. Now, getting into Covenants. So the Covenants you're going to be choosing is Necrolord. Kyrian is starting to be left by the wayside a little bit. It's still good. Necrolord is just better, but it does require a lot more focused gameplay to play Necrolord, and you are burning through a lot more buttons a lot faster because you're generating a lot more rage with banner upkeep. And in fact, Necrolord Warrior can actually do more damage as long as you upkeep banner. If your banner's dropping after 45 seconds, Kyrian's going to do more damage. But if you're keeping banner up for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, its whole duration, like, you know, the entire cooldown of it, you're going to be doing more damage as Necrolord than Kyrian. Just a fact. It's kind of how it works, but you need to get past that threshold. It's less bursty and more sustained, but its single target is really unmatched compared to Kyrian and any other Covenant, and its AoE is still very, very solid. But Necrolord is absolutely the play here. So if you do not know what the Conqueror's Banner does, it brandishes the Conqueror's Banner, granting 400 mastery and 30% increased movement speed to you and your two nearest allies, preventing movement speed from being below 100%, which lasts 15 seconds. Now this is the buff that it goes to all allies, and with Unity, it affects one other person, and every 10 rage you spend while it's active increases the duration of your banner by 0.5 seconds. This is very, very important. Unity is absolutely something that you need to play Necrolord properly, and it's just kind of how it works. Now, do note, what only lasts for 15 seconds for your party is the granting 400 mastery, 300 increased movement speed, and the reduced damage below, the reduced movement speed below 100. Only lasts for your party for so long. You get to keep most of the Conqueror's Banner buff for the duration, and it generates 4 rage per second. This can be increased with things like Last Stand, with the Conduit of Unnerving Focus, which increases your rage generation at item level 278. This is 66%, which turns your Last Stand into a very strong offensive cooldown. I already have a video covering Last Stand as well, so I'll put that. And not Last Stand in particular, but the differences between Booming Voice and Best Served Cold, which you're going to be talking about talents right now. But I will be linking that below, so I'm not going to be getting into the Booming Voice Best Served Cold thing. There's a 10-minute talk on it already if you want to watch it, but I will give you the quick, shortened version with a lot less math. So this is one of the ways that you do have some flexibility within your talents, although Devastator is always going to be taken as a pick. Double Time, you want to be charging into battle all the time. You want to be charge weaving. Another thing that you can do as well is, you charge into battle, get your rage, get everything going, and then when you feel like you need more shield block, you can intervene a range target and charge right back in. And this just allows you to have a whole lot more charge uptime with Reprisal, and its synergies is absolutely fantastic. 30 row. Booming Voice is the better option if you use Demo Shout as an offensive cooldown for rage generation without capping on rage. Like I said, I explained all that in a video that is linked down below. But if you're not playing your Demo Shout to extend Banner, Best Served Cold is going to be the best option for you. That's where I'm going to keep it for that. Bounding Stride and Crackling Thunder, both are very, very good options. I prefer Bounding Stride because I charge weave a lot, and I always like having Heroic Leap on cooldown. Although, Thunderclap's radius is increased by 50% with Crackling Thunder, and its movement speed by an additional 10%, which puts it up to 30. And then if you do Thunderclap with an Outburst, that'll go up to 90, allowing for very efficient kiting. Both are very, very strong, but require you to play slightly differently around them. So this is kind of your pick, right? And some classes already have innate slows built into them. So if you're playing with a Frost Mage, you're going to be losing a lot of that pretty crazy bonus from Crackling Thunder, although its increased radius is very, very nice for very, very large pulls. But if you're not pulling a lot of mobs, you're losing some of that efficiency with it. Indomitable is going to be your 40 play at all times. The amount of healing Indomitable does in a key is way too strong to not take. As you see here, that is 1.75 million healing and 20%, as well as, well, look, you can see Ignore Pain, right? And this is actually on the low end. I have hit 5.56 million healing out of Ignore Pain. Ravager is going to be your play for Mythic Plus. The rage generation that it gives you is absolutely necessary, so each time it deals damage, it generates 10 rage. Into the Fray is one that I've been playing with in Raid, as long as there's no big AoE stuff where I kind of can generate more rage out of there. But Into the Fray has been my basically solo 1 to 2, even 3 target play for Into the Fray. And then with the tier set, Anger Management is your go-to. As long as you have 4-piece tier, Anger Management is your go-to. Heavy Repercussions and Boaster have lost a lot of their synergies with, because Anger Management, you get more avatars, you get more shield walls, and more avatars means more outbursts. It just really works well with one another. Now, including with the tier set, Avatar increases your damage reduction by 30% instead of 20. Very, very strong. You're going to want to stick with something like this. Your flex options here are Best Served Cold, Booming Voice, Crackling Thunder, Bounding Stride. Up next, we got to talk stats, man, because stats matter a whole lot more, and the allocation of stats matter a whole lot more in Season 4 than they did before. Because what you used to do is you used to try and get as much haste and as much versatility as you could without completely dumping crit, and mastery would kind of come on its own. As long as it was over 20%, you were kind of pretty much okay. But now with the bounties in Season 4, you're choosing haste. Right now, haste, I've tested the others. I've tried crit, I've tried mastery, I've tried verse, and I've tried haste. Haste felt the absolute best for Prot Warrior. Honestly, the amount that you get is absolutely crazy, but that also means that you don't need to stack as much haste as you kind of would before, because you're going to be getting a lot of it in Mythic Plus, but in Raid, you want as much haste as possible, right? So I don't know if you're going to be swapping out a lot of sockets at all and things like that. You're going to have to find a balance between them all, but crit is emerging as a better stat, and you're going to be getting more of that passively. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten as many crit pieces as I want, so I'm trying to kind of increase some of that without losing the haste or versatility that I currently have, which is, of course, fairly fun, and I've been very unlucky so far in Mythic Plus. I can't say very unlucky. Not super lucky. But it is what it is. So you're going to want some versatility. Haste is absolutely king. And crit and mastery shouldn't be ignored either. You don't want to have really a dump stat, but you're going to have to test out kind of where you want your stats, right? Because sometimes you're going to feel like, oh, wait, maybe I have too low crit. This is going to feel a little bit better. And unfortunately, with tanks, you can't sim, right? You can sim for damage. So right now, if I sim my tank, it's going to tell me that I need way more crit. Yeah, I need way more crit for damage. I'm not just trying to do damage, I'm also trying to live and play defensively and be a tank. So there's a nice balance that I want to find towards being very good at, doing damage and tanking. And those two things can sometimes be at odds with one another, so you kind of want to meld them together and play with your stats a little bit. I am sitting at 35% base haste. I would like a little bit more, but I am kind of going to be using my sockets and stuff over as we go along and kind of maybe starting to put more crit into those sockets as we get into it and then swapping them over to haste for raid. But those are the stats, but the bounty you're going to want to pick for Season 4 is absolutely haste. Let's talk gear. Mainly, I want to talk about a couple of shields, and I want to talk about trinkets. So the raid vendor options, I've already went over this in a video for strength tanks. Shard of Nihilde's Aegis and Old Warrior Soul are two amazing options for Prot Warrior and should probably be prioritized if you're unlucky and you do not get them from drops in the raid or your vault. I'm really, really hoping I can get a Shard of Nihilde's Aegis in my vault or in the raid, so then that way I can pick something different, maybe even get a Gavel and a Jaethus and have some Fury fun, but is what it is. But those are the options, those are the two vendor options from raid, and those are your two best raid trinkets. Your two really good, these are situational and can be used very, very effectively. The Codex of the First Technique, I'm still running on my 278 from last season, and it actually does a fair amount of healing and reflect damage, but what's going to happen right now is I'm currently undergeared for the content that I'm doing, right? I'm having to play more defensively, I'm having to burn more rage on Ignore Pains than I do Revenges right now, because living is more important, but as I overgear the content that I'm doing, once I get into weekly 15s, the Codex of the First Technique numbers are going to come down and stabilize themselves a little bit more, but as you push content, it's going to remain a very strong trinket for Mythic Plus, especially a little bit less so in Raid, because that just kind of is what it is. One of the trinkets that I have been able to test is the Enforcer's Stun Grenade. So this is a versatility-based trinket, which is a mini IQD on a 2-minute cooldown, and it gives you, so this is item level 291, gives you 897 verse every 2 minutes. What I have done is I have paired this with Conqueror's Banner in a macro, so every time I hit Banner, I hit that. One of the nice parts of this is the amount of versatility that it gives you, right? So versatility is also a damage reduction. It is a healing received, and it is a healing received bonus, and it is a healing done bonus. A damage done bonus. So here I am sitting at 23% versatility. I click Enforcer's Banner. I am at 43.5. That is a huge amount of versatility and will allow you to play more offensively in your initial burst windows, whether you're choosing Booming Voice or Best Served Cold, and you can just really plow out a lot of damage over the course of your initial banner run, and then it's more maintaining banner for buff while doing damage and playing defensively. But this lets you play more offensively in that initial burst because you're getting a damage reduction from that. You're already popping Avatar. You've got a lot of things going for you for damage reduction, and during that initial burst, you've probably got Ravager going, so you've got extra Rage, so you got to Ignore Pains up for days. Shield Block's not a problem for uptime, and you just keep on going. So one of the offensive / defensive good trinkets that you can play with is the Enforcer Stun Grenade. I think this one might be slept on a little bit, but very, very strong. Yeah. Next up is the shields. So I haven't been able to play with the Sepulchre Savior yet. It is getting buffed by 2%. That is the shield that drops off Vigilant Guardian in Sepulchre of the first ones. Although, kind of what I'm seeing by the numbers, it's gonna still not be great. Let some testing out go first before you choose that one as your raid vendor option. I will be testing it out. The other one is the Mechagon Shield. Honestly, right now, I have one. Where is it? The Salvage Mechacycle Shielding. It's not worth it. I was so excited when this dropped, and I was like, yeah, that's so cool, let's go! I heard about the shield being awesome in BFA. It is tuned incredibly poorly. It doesn't do any damage. It dealt like 30k damage, and I had shield block uptime of 95% in the run, and it does deal like no damage, and its healing was like only 130k. The proc rate on this is terrible. It's a trap. Don't use it. Get your, like, I have a 285 here, and I'm running this 278 haste versus leech because I like the stats better. It's got leech, and the 3.2% leech that I'm getting from this with my fortified leech here actually does more healing than this 285 shield absorb proc, which is incredibly sad. This needs to be tuned up. Don't bother farming it. Get yourself something a better stat shield that will opt for you. You can do a little bit better for you and things like that. So yeah, just a little trap for you there. Just something to watch out for. And now let's talk about Season 4. Oh my god, there's so many things to talk about. It's so fun. Season 4 Prot Warrior is very, very strong with the Shrouded Affix itself. So if you don't know what the Shrouded Affix is certain mobs are disguised as Dreadlords, and there's one mini-boss in the instance where you can fight. Every Dreadlord will give you 1 stack of your chosen bounty buff, which for Prot Warriors is going to be haste. And the Dreadlord mini-boss, can't remember the name of it right now, will give you 3 stacks. Honestly, if you can avoid doing the mini-boss, especially right now, like, nobody knows to CC the bat. Everybody tries to DPS the bat or do damage to it, and it breaks it out of the CC, where you can just frost trap it, or, you know, I think Hibernate might work on it because it's a beast. I'm not sure. But yeah, so you just kind of want to avoid that one if you can, but there are many instances in where you can't, right? Mechagon Workshop, it's right in the way. It's right before the second boss. There's a lot of them that are right in the way that you can't ignore, but Prot Warrior does have a special toolkit when it comes to using fighting those, right? So Spell Reflect, although it does not reflect the damage from the Leeching Claws from the Dreadlords, it is a 20-second cooldown, 20% magical damage DR, damage reduction, right? This will be up for most Leeching Claws, where a lot of tanks just don't have the amount of defensives that Prot Warrior does to be able to deal with this, right? So if you don't have Spell Reflect, you can Demo Shout it. You always have something up to deal with the Leeching Claws, which is very, very strong. It's very, very nice, and that means that they'll heal less for every Leeching Claws, and then they will die faster. I have absolutely noticed that as a Prot Warrior, they die a little bit faster because I always have defensives up for Leeching Claws versus other ones. Now, when we get to the mini-boss, there's one button that hasn't been pressed too much and hasn't seen too much utility in Shadowlands currently. There are some moments where it's really, really nice and really niche, but Shattering Throw, this is a button you're going to be able to press multiple times in every dungeon. I can't say multiple times, at least once, but at least once every dungeon, as long as you're pulling the big mini-boss. And so what that does is when the mini-boss puts up their shield for the Blood Siphon, you can hit Shattering Throw. This I do on the second Blood Siphon, because most of the time people are burning cooldowns to down this mini-boss quickly. So the first shield tends to drop pretty quickly, but then the second one, I've noticed at about a 15 to 16 level, those are the ones that I've done the most of, it will deal about 60% of the shield's damage in one hit. So Shattering Throw, very, very strong for Prot Warriors. Aside from that, how's Prot Warrior feeling right now? And I have to say, fantastic. That's one thing that I've been getting a lot of questions about is, man, is it good? Like, dude, I am getting comments from healers all the time, and they're like, we don't have to touch you, we don't have to heal you, you just live, and you just go. And the thing is whenever I do take damage, I heal it back up with Indomitable pretty quickly with a little bit of leech, and I very rarely need to get touched. Most of the time they can just put some sort of hot on me, like a Riptide or whatever have you not, and I'm up pretty quickly, back up to 100. Because the thing with Prot Warrior is they don't have much self-sustain, right? That's kind of what it is. It's what they're known for. But you can absolutely limit how much damage you're taking. I have noticed in a dungeon run through Mistweaver, Brewmaster, Blood DK, Bear, whatever have you not, I am taking about 4k damage less overall than I am any other tank. I'm taking so much less damage. The problem that arises with that is I now have no way to really super heal myself up. One of the things that you can do, and especially when you're in the zone and you're playing your focus right, is make sure you have a warlock in your party for health stones. Health stones are basically the way that I self-sustain. I ran, so on the second last week of season 3, I was in a 22 or 21 necrotic wake, and we finally got to the second boss, and the healer was like, "Can I heal you?" Like, because I had a health stone up for every pull, and I just wasn't taking damage, and when I did take damage, it was a quick health stone back up, and my rotation and my defenses were back up and rolling. She's like, "I just don't have to touch you." Like, it's crazy. If you play Prot Warrior correctly, you're not in need of much self-sustain. That's the goal. But you need to play it correctly. You need to have banner going at all times. You need to work on its uptime. Keep shield block rolling. Intervene whenever you can for extra shield blocks. There are mechanics in the dungeons that are really, really good to intervene. For example, on the third boss in Iron Docks, when he does the jump on, I can't remember the name of the ability, but he jumps on one of your DPS players and just starts going mad at them. Intervene that player. They're melee damage, and you can quite literally get them to avoid a lot of that damage by intervening. It's a very strong cooldown for that one boss fight, so that's one that you're going to want to have to save it. But as you play more Prot Warrior, you'll learn when good intervenes are going to occur and like when you need to save it. But most of the time, in the current meta, you can kind of just get away with pressing it on cooldown and still be fine. So that is the 9.2.7 Prot Warrior Guide. I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys are enjoying Season 4. I'm going to say that everyone thinks Karazhan's overtuned and is just an absolute nightmare. Has not been fun so far, I agree, but the other 6 dungeons have been crazy fun, and I'm having a blast with it. So, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Have yourself a good one, and happy tanking!